Senator from North Dakota.
Pleased to join my colleague from Nebraska and others in discussing the importance of continuing to develop our energy resources here in North Dakota. We have the most abundant energy resources in the world, and we need to use all of them to develop and continue to build an all-of-the-above energy policy. Much of the nation continues to experience very cold temperatures, in some cases really record cold temperatures. In my state of North Dakota, coal typically provides 35 to 40% of the 24/7 base load power generation to not only our state but to other states in the region. We supply both MISO and the SPP power pools with energy for our region that they can count on 24/7. Base load energy that in the coldest times or the hottest times, in peak energy times, they know that those base load power plants are going to be there to keep the lights on and keep the heat going and whatever other power needs are called for. That's 24/7 base load power provided all the time. Also, not only is it 24/7 energy when needed at peak times, but according to the Energy Information Office, their October 23 report, North Dakota's paid the lowest electricity prices in the country. The lowest in the country. Let's compare that, for example, to, let's say, California. California paid 4 times as much for electricity during the same time period. So my colleague from Nebraska just talked about electric vehicles. Well, you need charging stations for those electric vehicles. Where's that electricity going to come from? And particularly, where is it going to come from at times when you have peak power needs? You still need that electricity for all these different purposes. So we have to recognize that even as we develop new technologies and do all these things that people want, we've got to have that base load power coming from somewhere. We simply can't take our baseload energy, our coal-fired electric, and our other sources have to be there. Now again, we continue to develop new technologies and continue to press for the best possible environmental stewardship, but we've got to recognize that we need more energy, and we've got to continue to use all of our resources to generate that energy. Access to affordable and reliable energy is not only a quality of life issue, but obviously a public safety issue, and we've seen that with these record cold temperatures. That includes keeping our homes warm, our businesses running. It includes keeping the lights on for our critical infrastructure like hospitals, schools, police, fire departments, and many, many other public services that we depend on every single day. But the reality is our electric grid only works when there's sufficient power generation available to meet demand in real time. You can't not have that energy when you need it and expect the grid to keep working and, of course, those vital needs to be met. In its 2023 Long-Range Reliability Assessment, the North American Energy Reliability Corporation, NERC, as it's commonly referred to, is warning that our grid, our power grid, continues to face higher risk of blackouts and brownouts because of planned power plant retirement alongside rising electricity demand. So again, think about whether it's electric vehicles, whether it's your computers, data processing, whatever it may be, we can continue to develop all these new things, these new technologies, and all these things we want to do, but you've got to have the power to run them. When you go into the house and flip on that switch, where's that electricity coming from? People take it for granted. But if we don't have the base load out there, you can't take it for granted because it won't happen. FERC commissioners emphasized these concerns in testimony before our Senate Energy Committee last year, of which I'm a member, and that included Commissioner Christie, who noted that, quote, the United States is headed for a reliability crisis. So once again, Commissioner Christie, one of the FERC commissioners, said specifically in front of our Energy Committee that the United States is headed for a reliability crisis because of lack of baseload generation. We need to take this seriously. It is a national security issue. Now, despite these warnings, the Biden administration's Green New Deal approach and regulations continue to accelerate the problem. This includes the EPA's proposed Clean Power Plan 2.0 and an unworkable MATS standard, new rules that seek to drive up the cost of operations for our power plants. And of course, at some point, those power plants are no longer economic, and that forces them to shut down. In addition to power plant regulations, the EPA is proposing a new methane regulation, including, just this past week, a new tax on methane. And that was authorized by the IRA legislation. Again, a tax that's going to drive up, not only reduce supply, but drive up costs on consumers. Somebody has to pay for that. It gets passed down the line, consumers pay for it. That means higher electricity costs. Not only less electricity, less energy, but higher costs to consumers. The Interior Department continues to restrict access to our taxpayer-owned energy reserves, which also drives up the cost of energy production because we produce energy on federal lands as well as on private lands. Producing less energy here at home means higher costs, but also makes us dependent on sources of energy from other parts of the world. In many cases, parts of the world that are unstable and have environmental standards that are vastly inferior to our own here in this country. Once again, we've got to find ways to make American energy production less expensive and more reliable. And that means producing the energy here at home. That means an environment that encourages energy development, not more regulation and more taxes that makes it harder to produce energy and drive up costs. And that means energy from all sources, right? Traditional and renewable, all sources with the latest technology. Okay. So again, if we're going to continue to develop all these wonderful new things that we want to utilize, we're going to have the energy to make sure that we can power them. We're going to have the energy to make sure that on the coldest day, we're comfortable in our homes for our families and all those that we care about. In my state of North Dakota, we have over 700 years of coal supply alone, and we are developing the latest, greatest technology to produce that coal and do it so that we have baseload electricity, dependable, low cost, and the best environmental stewardship. And we continue to do that. America leads the world in this kind of innovation. Let's empower that. Let's empower that. It is, again, all about our country producing electricity here at home so that we are truly not only energy independent, but energy dominant. And in fact, developing resources like our natural gas and LNG that helps our allies so they're not dependent on countries like Russia or countries that are adversarial to us and our allies, but rather working together, America with our allies, on important things like energy development. We can do that, and that's the kind of thing that we should be doing. A little over a decade ago, we cracked the code on the shale production in places like the Bakken. In my state of North Dakota, the Permian, in Texas, we've produced incredible amounts of energy as a result. Again, that's not only important in terms of our economy, it makes sure that we don't have to get energy from places like OPEC. And we all know the incredible problems that's created for us through the years when we can't produce that energy at home and have to look at players like OPEC. So the fact remains that coal, oil, and natural gas remain vital to our economic interests and to our national security because these resources are reliable and energy dense compared to, in many cases, renewable energy, which only provides energy part of the time. What do you do when you need energy and the sun isn't shining if you're only dependent on solar energy? What do you do when you need energy and you're relying on wind power and the wind isn't blowing? We've got to have this baseload electricity. And so, again, this is common sense. This is about having an energy policy that truly empowers this country to produce more energy, to do it with the best environmental stewardship, to make it reliable, dependable, affordable, to make sure it's there 24/7, every day, on the coldest day, on the hottest day, for whatever those growing needs are, let's make sure we have that energy here at home. Let's be not just energy independent, but energy dominant. We can do that in this country, and we need to do it in this country. With that, Madam President, I yield the floor. And I yield the floor. Thank you.